Alrighty guys, this is Scott, Bossman, no frills. I would just actually put a shout out to a lot of my competitors to see what topic they would like covered. I'll try and do this reasonably regularly. And a common one that came up was the post-comp period, how in a lot of ways it's much harder than the comp prep itself, especially psychologically. 100% true. Of course, cutting down, if anyone's done it or seen anybody do it, it is a huge mental challenge unto itself. Even when done as well as possible, slow, steady, calories don't get too drastic, not excessive cardio, all the good stuff, it's still crazy hard. The constant hunger by the end, the lack of energy, depending on how you approach the nutrition, deprivation for a lot, it's very hard. No one questions that. But not many look at the post-comp period. We're talking psychologically. So physically, the post-comp period gets a lot easier quite quickly. Normally you've got more time available, the calories go up, you reverse, it all happens quite nicely, and physically you start to reboot, and not as quickly as people think either, but you do, it's not too bad. But a lot suffer psychologically a lot more in the post-comp period. Let's say they go into the post-comp period well-intentioned to control the reverse and do it well, but finding themselves slipping half the time and not having that same discipline and control that they had in the comp period. Of course, the dreaded post-comp blues kick in, and I'll explain what my thoughts on this is, why people get these things. But this is the stuff they struggle with. Definitely the post-comp blues. Definitely the seeming lack of discipline compared to what they just had when they were cutting down. And for a lot, if they had an overly restrictive cut down, the guilt, of course, that feeling that they shouldn't be eating this. So all the poor relationships with food really poke their head up post-comp period. We'll knock them down one by one. Don't want this to be a long video. So the first one, post-comp blues. This is synonymous with a lot of sports, not just bodybuilding. When you're laser focused on this singular date and the end outcome, even if you know you're going to continue the sport and go again, immediately post you feel lost. That's because the immediacy of the goal, I think, is now gone. You know, the big carrot, it's gone. Let's say it's bodybuilding, your next comp isn't for a year maybe, and you're in such structure and routine, and now some of that is taken away, plus the big goal you were focused so heavily on is also gone and in the rearview mirror. It can lead to feeling a little lost and depressed and just a icky feeling. Of course, once you get used to this, you're just aware of it and you just do the process for a few weeks, things kick back into gear, you set some new goals and away you go. It's not an easy thing to overcome. I highly recommend before the end of the competition to know your plan post-competition. Helps a little bit. Also, you can plan something fun post-comp, you know, holiday, getaway, those types of things. But still, I find that the post-comp blues kick in. Don't know if there's any real solution to that, just to be aware of it. And it passes, you know, usually a couple of weeks, maybe a month. Keep doing your training, set those future goals, you'll know what you have to work on, and you quickly work yourself out of that post-comp blues period. But it's happened in many sports. I mean, I see it in the athletes I do, especially, even myself, bodybuilding and powerlifting. You finished a big title, then it's a little bit flat, but not as bad in powerlifting. And I think this is why, is because the next comp is usually much closer. So you kind of keep steamrolling along. And in that effect, I sometimes set my bodybuilders like maybe a goal 3 months after their competition. So they're immediately focused on something that's going to help them with their bodybuilding, but isn't a bodybuilding show again, of course. Could be a strength goal, could be, you know, even a fun event, you know, novice strongman, just something just to set your sights towards. But just mainly be aware, PostComp Blues you're not alone, everybody goes through that. The second one is the seeming lack of discipline. That's quite an easy one, I think, to explain. It's the carrot thing. It's when that goal is so pending and you know you have to be on stage and it's there. When that's gone, it's just the body balancing itself and the mind. It says, well, now it's time to relax. And it is time to relax. I'm a big one for the reverse period. Just has to be somewhat controlled, not disciplined like comp prep, not all you can eat, just controlled somewhat. And within that, I would have most of my athletes start reversing their calories, depending on their prep. If it was a standard prep, fairly quick. I like to get them to maintenance reasonably quickly, so we can maximize the off season. But if what's realistic for most, it would be reversing the calories, but then probably 1 day a week for the first month, just to eat what you want type thing. Not on purpose, just it kind of has to get out of the system. And the other reason it's really hard, because once that goal is gone, when you get that lean, there's systemic hunger, which is more the central axis, like leptin, ghrelin, not just your stomach's empty and you're hungry. It is a 24/7 drive for you to eat to get your body fat levels back up to where the body wants them to be. And everybody knows this post-comp, you can eat and feel full, and like 5 minutes later you could eat again. That doesn't happen normally in the off-season. That's that central axis. And again, just being aware of that is good. Knowing that, yes, it does just take a few weeks, sometimes maybe 6 weeks to peter out and for that axis to stabilize itself. So when you're fighting against that constant hunger and the immediacy of the comp is gone, if you can just somewhat control that reverse and just let the body fat come up a little bit and to healthy off-season levels, it's good to go, but that's normal as well. So PostComp Blues, the one we just went through, brain blank, there you go. Maybe I need more calories. But the last one is the guilt. This I find comes from people who diet on rigid plans as they go down. So they've been on very restrictive food choices, and the brain just starts to get associations to I can have this, I can't have that. As soon as you have something you're supposedly not allowed to have, you feel guilt for it. Now you feel bad because you're not as disciplined as you were. You feel guilty because you're eating foods you weren't supposed to, and you got the post-comp blues. So all of this stuff we deal with post-comp. So my easy advice to try and minimize it, I don't think you can prevent it. It's just part of kind of the natural ups, highs and lows. But you can minimize it. Have a good prep where you don't do anything drastic. Don't overly restrict food choices so you don't get the poor food associations and guilt afterwards. The second, have a goal that's fairly soon after the comp that's kind of related, but of course not bodybuilding. Get you refocused, so minimize the post-comp blues. And the discipline thing, I usually just say, as long as you're keeping the body fat in check, cut yourself some slack. You just were dieting for ages. So that's the way to minimize it a little bit. It's a topic I think that needs to be talked about a bit more, not too many. Talk about the post-comp period, which of course can be much better controlled with the whole process of having a good off-season, so then you can have a good cut down, not do anything drastic, and possibly be ready a little earlier so you can even start reversing before the comp into your competition date, approaching maintenance. So then that drive after comp is very minimized. But anyway, I hope that was helpful. If you've got any questions, just shoot them through, and I'll endeavor to get more of these topics out there for you guys.